getting them down and you're like, do you want to go on a date? And they're like, yeah. A controversial topic. In this video, I'm going to talk about mindset and how it relates to dating. Also, potentially there'll be some conversation about dating abroad as compared to dating in the United States. I'm going to leave some space right here because I'm going to put up a comment that I got back. This is mainly a response to this comment. I think it's a great comment. It's from This Is Not My Sandwich. Here it is. And I've highlighted some stuff. I'm going to read the things that are highlighted here. You can read the whole thing. You can go to the video as well to read it, but I'm going to keep it up on the screen a while. You can read it. I'll also talk about the highlighted parts because I think this is a good response in general. Him and I were going back and forth in conversation, and so this is the last response. I'm just going to dig into a little bit more about dating in the United States as compared to abroad and the mindset around that. So him and I are aligning with a lot of the thoughts, but it's good that we can build off of each other, which is what we're trying to do. So the first thing highlighted here is when he traveled outside the United States, he was able to connect with women around values and mindset for the first time in his life. It's a big deal, right? Like, I don't know about you, if you've tried, dating different people in the States, which a lot of Americans have lived their entire life in the United States, and maybe you haven't really found that strong connection. Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, I felt like I was able to connect with people in some degree, but I wasn't getting this deep level of connection that I truly desired. I was just thinking, this might just be the way it is. This might just be how it is. But then when you travel abroad and you're connecting with people and you're trying to learn more values, there's multiple reasons why you can really connect on a deeper level. Honestly, I do think one of the things is because that person is so different, you have so much to learn from each other and you're open to learning so much from each other. If you both come from the same culture, then you yourself or the opposite person might have a strong mindset on how things should already be. And so it might be hard to connect because not like everyone has their own perspective. Nothing's the same. The world is not the same. There's no black and white, right? So connecting with someone of a different culture, you get to talk about that. You get to talk about your own mindsets and really allow each other to connect because what each person says is their perception of reality. I think it's great you're able to connect when you are abroad. And you've also mentioned you trained jiu-jitsu for 10 years. This is the next highlighted section. The reason he brings this up is I commented on that in the last video, just saying if you're doing fitness, you're doing exercise, that can help you attract a partner. And he's doing it. And he says he eats healthy and he's able to get dates. Great. So you're able to attract a date in the first place. That's awesome. Clarified. You want to be able to attract dates. That's important. But if you, and this is to everyone else, not just in relation to your comment, the goal is to attract a mate, but then when you're with them, you get to judge them as well. Like, do you want to spend time with this person? Do you admire their mindset? And if you don't, then that's okay, but at least you're able to attract them. So because you do jiu-jitsu, you have a healthy body and you're in shape, that is a great factor to allow you to attract people. For those that do not have a good body and are not in shape, it's fine. Like, there may be some other factor. Like, one of the things I think is maybe there's a guy who's like overweight, but he's so funny. And so that's his attracting factor. He's so funny. Or maybe the same thing as a guy who's overweight and he's just so loving and so caring. So his weight doesn't matter when he's talking to females. They're just attracted to him because of how loving or funny he is. And, again, some girls might be attracted to a guy who's very, very fit. And they're excited to go chat with him, and then they go chat with him and like nothing's in his mind, right? So you have to have these other factors. First you have to have the attracting factor, and then you have to have this mental bit too. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I wanted to highlight that. Good to hear you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while. You could probably kick my butt since you've been working out in fighting style for so long. So yeah, thanks for sharing. Let's see. Oh, you also mentioned experiencing ayahuasca for the first time. I actually, to be honest, thought about trying that when I was in Peru. And for most people I heard, it's like if it really calls to you, then go do it. I ended up studying Spanish, running my company, growing my company like twofold during that time. I was in Peru for a month, so did not have time, didn't do it. But I have heard similar experiences where you said it completely altered your goals and the way you wanted to live life and connect. I think that's great. From my friends and the other people I have heard experiences from, they were living their way, they were living their life one way, and then it was like, one experience, and it shocked them back into like, why was I doing things for this reason? Why did I feel like that was important? This is the way I want to do things. And so that's great that you had that change, that mental change. And so, just commenting on that part, and also the next one, right? So we're still moving along in these highlights. So the ayahuasca part and changing your goals, and then you distinctly recall being on dates and explaining what the last 2 years have been like for you, the peace and contentment you found, and you were explaining this while you're on a date, and then the girls mentally checked out. I guess they should have done ayahuasca too, because your brain now understands things in a new light, but theirs doesn't. I'm just kidding. But I mean, especially if you explain ayahuasca, right? You already mentioned that's a controversial topic, so I wouldn't recommend talking about that right away. But it's up to you. I mean, if you want to find someone that's already really open to that, like be my guest. I'm sure you're not mentioning that right away, but like you're mentioning your experiences and your desire to move slower in life, and yeah, some people are just not up for that. I think it is part of the dating piece. And so one thing I will ask, I mean, you're sharing a lot, and I appreciate it, and I want this to be back and forth conversation. And I'm doing my best. I'm not giving you advice. I'm not doing that. I am just offering, not even offering. I'm just saying some stuff that I think I want to say, and I want to hear back from you because I think it's interesting. I think the stuff you're sharing is an interesting point of view. So I want to share some more on my side as well. I'm not sure how you're initially attracting someone to go on a date with. I mean, you're doing all that jujitsu, so maybe you're wrestling and then you're getting them down and you're like, you want to go on a date? And they're like, yeah. Going to the next part, you mentioned people have this bizarre fantasy of creating an empire together. Yeah, man. Like, the American dream is like building an empire, so I understand that. In a lot of other countries, it's not really the case. I still have that a little bit, meaning I want to build something. I feel like I want to build something. And like, it doesn't have to be the most wealthiest, successful financially thing in the world, but I want to build something. And an empire can be smaller here and still be something that feels really good. So I want to build it. I understand that you're talking about that, but at the same time, like, I have wanted a slower life. I'm gonna wait for that because you have a comment in there before I get into that part. But the next part is people even refer to themselves as kings or queens. Yeah, I understand. I have friends that like talk, and they talk about themselves as a king, and like they want to, like, I am a king, and they believe it, and it's like, that's cool. Like, if you feel that and you feel strongly about it and you have a belief like that, cool. And like, if you also want to be with someone who thinks of themselves as a queen, cool. Like, you're both on par with each other. That's great. And then if you're not, what you're saying, like, that you think it's cringy as hell, like, all right, then it's not for you. I I still remember dating a girl who demanded to be called a queen, like, it was what she needed to be called, and I was like, I felt what you felt, man. I felt this is cringy as hell, and I'm not down for it, because we all have this way we think or we want things, and like, I don't want a queen. That's just kind of how I feel. I was like, I want a princess. Like, that's if we're gonna use these terminologies, because I think everyone explains things in a different way and uses different terminology, right? Like, people use religious terms to explain certain things. People use enneagrams to explain certain things, or people use like introverted, extroverted, whatever it is. This terminology. So I feel like the kings and queens statement is just it's just different terminology for somebody to see the world and explain it to you, or to explain it to others. And so when I say princess, or I want a princess, it's like, I want someone who I can spoil, who's cute, who's adorable, who loves me no matter what. And, I want to give to her and provide for her and help her and support her and help her growth. You know, that's just how I feel when I get in those conversations. A queen's already there, right? A princess has all this room to grow, and you can help them grow into whatever. And then for me specifically, I have been asked this and I've thought about it a couple times. I don't know. To be honest, I don't really care. I don't have to be a king. Like, I don't have to. I don't know. That sometimes it sounds weird to me. And it's like, would I be a prince? Yeah, I think maybe I like the word prince more than king, but you know, it doesn't matter to me. And I thought about it some more, and I'm like, king, queen. I was like, maybe a duke or a lord, or maybe because I like Japanese culture, I was like, maybe I'd be a shogun or a warlord. Oh man, a warlord would be cool. And then it's like, why? Because the word warlord sounds cool. And I'm really into Japanese culture, so I've read a lot about it. But if anything, maybe a samurai. That's probably it. I have a bunch of books on samurais and stuff. But yeah, anyway, I understand how that can be cringy. The next part is you feel like you've already beaten a video game, and now that it's done, you want to live a slower and more meaningful life. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thought. So throughout my life, I've always said I wanted to go to Japan. And even though I traveled a lot before I went to Japan, and I went to Japan for 3 months, lived there for 3 months, studied Japanese, and then I left and came back to Vietnam because I wanted to be here. But after that, I felt like it was complete. Just the same thing you're saying. Like, I finished the game. I finished my life. It's done. I did everything I needed. So now life two starts. Now what do I want? And that this is before I have like started dating my girlfriend I have now, because it helped me in all those realizing thoughts of like, okay, that first life was done. Now what do I want? What do I truly want in that future? Like, I've done all the things that I feel like I needed to go out and do, and now what do I want with my new life? And so I totally understand that. For me, it's also slow, meaningful life, not doing all the work. That's why I moved to a beach town and lived near the beach, which I always dreamed. I did like all the dreams I had. I like moved into the place where I could live out my dreams day to day. And so I have more to add to that because I'm living in a city. But anyway, uh, I agree that living in a slower, more meaningful life is important. And why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't you live the life you want? When it relates to dating, you're having this way that you want to live your life. And so put that out there, whether it's in your first conversation, whether it's on a dating app, or whatever you're doing, put that into the conversation, your initial conversation. Then when you meet up, listen to them in the same way, hear everything that matters to them, get them to feel like you're genuinely interested in them. And then if they ask questions back, if they don't ask questions, don't talk. Like, it's fine. That's fine not to. If they ask questions, genuinely answer them and tell them like about what's important and meaningful in your life. And then if they resonate with it, great. And if they don't, understand that they're saying that, and like, don't try to have a future with them because it does not resonate. So you could, if it doesn't matter if they're really beautiful or whatever, and you keep trying to get them because you want to keep them, like, they're not going to stay because their future doesn't resonate with you. So if you have this idea of this peaceful and calm future, you need to find those people, and they are out there. They are out there. So quality over quantity. I hope that was like a good response to your answer. I can see that this is already a long video, and I only highlighted stuff. I didn't even read through it. So you put so much jam-packed stuff into that comment. I really appreciate it. If you have any other thoughts, like, let me know. I'll feel free to record these. And if anyone else watched this or you have some other thoughts, feel free to respond with some of those thoughts, and I'll make a video on it because this is interesting. I like this conversation, and I think it should be continued. See you next time.